The fire at Paris's historic Notre Dame Cathedral broke hearts across the world. Incredibly significant to both secular and religious communities, the 856-year-old church housed historical treasures and holy relics such as the crown of thorns. I sat down with Bishop Mitchell T. Rozanski of the Diocese of Springfield and Professor John Rogers from American International College, who has an apartment near Notre Dame, to discuss the history and future of this architectural treasure.
I was driving in my car when I heard a news report, and then immediately when I arrived at my residence, I turned on the television to see how bad the fire was, and I was horrified. By then, the roof was fully engulfed, and the building, I was just in shock watching it, and I'm sure that anybody who was watching that scene was in shock of such an iconic cathedral known throughout the world. Anybody would recognize a photo of being Notre Dame in Paris.
Right, and I know, John, you lived in Paris for a few years back in the 90s, and you still have a residence there.
Yes, I go back there quite regularly, a couple of times a year, and we still have a lot of friends there, so it's just a very shocking thing from a personal point of view. But I must say I was impressed by how many people just around the world who maybe had no connection, but everybody knows about the cathedral and a little bit about the history and obviously about the hunchback. And I think it just made a huge impression at a very broad basis of population.
But this must have been heartbreaking for you, right? That's something that's so close.
Yeah, and it's just, and not only is it iconic, but it's just a lovely setting there. It's right on the island in the middle of the city, and it's surrounded by a very vibrant area of shops and restaurants, and it's also residential, so it was the church for the people in that neighborhood, and they're wondering, what are we going to do just to have our religious services? So it just had a huge impact.
And to see the spire collapse, you know, and you think of how many firefighters went in there to save the building, and to see that roof engulfed must have been, you know, really upsetting to watch it unfold.
Absolutely, and I must say it looks like they did a pretty good job. Unfortunately, they couldn't really contain the fire, but the basic structure seems to be intact, and thank God they were able to get a lot of the artwork and the artifacts out, because those are absolutely priceless.
Yeah, Bishop, if we could talk a little bit about the relics that were removed, in particular the crown of thorns. So, like, when you think about that, certainly we have just, you know, passed Holy Week in the Catholic Church. That's a big deal and a big save.
Well, indeed it is, and of course, all of the different artifacts and relics that were in the cathedral certainly were worth saving, and it was very, very heartening to hear of the efforts that were made and the successful efforts in saving the crown of thorns, the other relics. The Blessed Sacrament was taken out of the cathedral as it was burning. So it was very, very important to save those pieces of history, to think of what those have witnessed throughout the centuries, and that they could be preserved is really a very heartening thing.
And not just that, you know, they're a piece of history and they're artifacts. I guess within the church, I mean, those are like very, very important relics. And obviously it would be heartbreaking to see them if they were destroyed, correct?
Certainly, because they really, in our hearts, they bring forth devotion. They make us think of the Passion of Christ and what he went through in order to suffer the crown of thorns. And all of the other different relics and artifacts and beautiful artwork that are in the Notre Dame Cathedral really lift our hearts to devotion to God. And when we see a thing of beauty like the cathedral, it makes us think of what talents God has given to us and the talent we give back to God over the ages. And what a spectacular scene Notre Dame is right in the middle of Paris.
And religious and non-religious, to see the reaction on social media, you know, people who might not have any sort of connection were so upset and posting things, really on Monday and Tuesday as this story was breaking. Did that, strike you?
Absolutely, and I think there's a lot of discussion about the secularization, that France isn't nearly as religious as it used to be, and there are many other religions now besides Catholicism that are important. But I think it's such a part of French history, whether you're religious or not. It was the King of France, Louis IX, who became Saint Louis Saint-Louis, who brought back the crown of thorns from the Holy Land in 1200, and it's just a part of the history, and I think everybody in France or who has anything to do, any relationship with the country and the history feels that.
And talk a little bit about the rebuilding. I know $1 billion has already come in, as far as contributions to rebuild. What do you think is in the future here?
I think it's going to be an interesting debate, because one school of thought is you should try to reconstruct it in the old style. The problem with that is, for example, the oak trees, you have to go, I think they're only in the Baltic countries, and you need something like 3,000 trees, very, very straight, tall oak trees. You need stonemasons, you need glaziers. So my thought is people behind this, some of the big donors, people like the Louis Vuitton company, these people who are into fashion, luxury, architecture, art, might come up with a very creative, imaginative way to combine what's left of the old cathedral and refashion it with some modern ideas. And I kind of like the idea of 2024, that's 5 years from now, when they're going to have the Olympics. Maybe they could use that as a timeline, have it ready when the Olympics open, so you could kind of create a whole statement about how things go, life goes on and things come back, and I think that would be very powerful.
And talk a little bit about the heroism, too, of the firefighters. Just a massive amount of firefighters really working so hard to fight this fire, and just how big the cathedral is, to be in there and working under those conditions.
Well, certainly when you looked at the scenes of the roof burning, you know that as it burnt, pieces of that roof were falling all during the fire into the cathedral. So the firefighters and those who went in to save the relics really exhibited an amount of bravery that reaches the human limit. And you could tell the love that they have for that cathedral and what that means to not only the city of Paris, but also to all of France. So I'm sure that weighed on their minds as they were trying to save whatever they could of the cathedral.
And John, what are your plans? Are you going back this summer?
Yeah, we'll be back in about a month, so it's certainly something to see, and to see firsthand is going to be very powerful, but I'm really looking forward to hearing about the plans for reconstruction and see how that's going and get a firsthand reaction to the whole thing.